Do you think Christmas in Europe is just about sparkling lights and peaceful vibes? Think again. For Maya and me, the biggest storm of the year isn't coming from the weather. It just knocked on our front door, Maya's grandfather. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Huyen and Maya's world. Honestly, this was supposed to be a video sharing our festive, heartwarming Christmas preparations. Everything was finally in order. Life had been so peaceful lately, and I truly thought I could finally breathe a sigh of relief and just enjoy the holidays. But life really does have a way of throwing you a curveball. Just when things were at their quietest, he appeared. Maya's grandfather, my ex-father-in-law, showed up completely out of the blue without any warning. To be honest with you guys, every time I see him or have any contact with that side of the family, a deep sense of unease rises up in my gut. It feels like a dark undercurrent, threatening to wash away the peace my daughter and I have worked so hard to build. So, what does this sudden appearance right at Christmas actually mean? Is it a gesture of goodwill, or is there something else behind it? More schemes and legal troubles that our family will have to brace ourselves for. Don't look away. Follow along with us in today's vlog to see exactly what happens next. If you were to ask me where the most healing spot in this entire house is, I wouldn't hesitate to point straight to the backyard. It's not just soil and plants out there. It represents the heart and soul of our days spent trying to put down roots and build a normal life here in a foreign land. Do you remember the last video? The image of Brother D toiling away alone under the dry Spanish sun to renovate that barren patch of land really made me think. Watching his shirt soak through with sweat, seeing the patient way he picked out every single rock and mixed every bag of soil. I felt a silent but incredibly powerful effort coming from him. He doesn't say much. He just does. He wanted to expand this little garden, not just so we'd have more vegetables to eat, but it felt like he wanted to expand the space of peace for my daughter and me. It felt like he was trying to patch up the holes in my soul by caring for every single green sprout. And today, I couldn't just stand by and watch anymore. I decided to roll up my sleeves, step out into the garden, and help him finish this mission. There is something strange, something special about the feeling of two pairs of hands touching the soil together. It felt raw and rustic. Brother Day and I each doing our own part, yet moving in a strange kind of rhythm. The crunch of the hoe hitting the earth, the rustling of the afternoon wind through the trees. It all created a gentle background melody for our afternoon of labor. Together, we loosened the old soil that had started to harden, mixing in nutrients to prepare for a new season. Here in Spain, finding vegetable varieties that taste like home isn't always easy. So every time we sow a seed, we are sowing a little bit of hope. I carefully placed the young seedlings into the holes Dad had dug. The pungent smell of fresh earth mixed with the scent of greenery made my heart feel light. In that moment, I forgot all the worries out there. I forgot the financial pressures, the endless legal troubles. It was just me, Brother D, and these little green lives. As we worked, we whispered about little things. We thought to ourselves and told each other about the beautiful vision ahead. That in just a short time, when the seasonal rains soak deep into the ground, this garden will transform. We will have rows of lush green mustard greens, trellises heavy with fruit. How lucky we would be if our family holiday meal could be filled with dishes made from our own labor. The feeling of harvesting it yourself, of bringing the flavor of nature into the kitchen. It makes all the hard work of today feel incredibly worth it. By then the afternoon sun began to fade, leaving streaks of patchy orange across the sky. The work was mostly done. I stood up, stretched, and turned to look at Brother D. He had just looked up too quickly, wiping a drop of sweat from his forehead. We looked at each other, and a radiant smile bloomed on our faces. It was a smile of satisfaction, of unity, and of the simple happiness of seeing the fruits of our labor take shape. That smile, it should have been the beautiful ending to today's vlog, but life has a funny way of playing tricks on you when you least expect it. The smile on Brother D's lips didn't even have time to fade. Naturally, it suddenly froze. His eyes, which had been sparkling with joy, suddenly went dark. His gaze fixed intensely toward the front gate. I saw his facial muscles tense up. A flash of confusion and alertness was written all over his face. My heart skipped a beat. Natural instinct told me that something was wrong. I slowly turned my head to follow his gaze, and then I felt like I was rooted to the spot. Standing there right at the entrance to the little garden we had just nurtured was a figure familiar enough to haunt me. It wasn't a stranger. It wasn't a neighbor stopping by. It was Maya's grandfather, my ex-father-in-law. For a second, the air around us seemed to thicken. The sound of the wind, the leaves, it all seemed to vanish, leaving only the sound of my heart pounding in my chest. Why is he here right now? Did he come alone, or is he with someone? And most importantly, what does he want? How long has it been since the last time we crossed paths in peace? Almost never. His appearance has never been a sign of a pleasant afternoon tea. It always brings storms, demands, or words that leave me hurt. I looked down at my hands stained with mud and dirt, and then back at his imposing figure at the gate. The contrast left a bitter taste in my mouth. We just want to peacefully grow vegetables, raise my child, and live a quiet life. But it seems the past refuses to let go. It keeps looming over us, knocking on the door, demanding attention. Brother D took a step forward, slightly shielding me, a protective instinct. But I knew this was something I had to face. Is he here to visit his granddaughter for Christmas with genuine goodwill? Or is this the start of a new chain of legal troubles that my family will have to brace ourselves against? I took a deep breath, trying to regain my composure. Whatever his purpose, I cannot run away. What happened immediately after that? How did Maya react when she saw her grandfather? And how tense did the conversation between us get? Please stick around and follow the events unfolding right now. There are truths and there are emotions that you can only truly understand the weight of when you face them head on. When Maya's grandfather's silhouette fully emerged from behind the wooden gate, it felt as if the air was instantly sucked out of the space around me. The sounds of the hoe hitting the earth, the rustling leaves, the birds singing in the late afternoon, everything seemed to go mute. All that was left was the sound of my own heart pounding, hammering against my chest as if it wanted to break free. Brother Day and I, almost in unison, dropped our gardening tools to the ground. My hands, which just moments ago were eagerly nurturing young sprouts, suddenly felt clumsy and trembling. I tried to hastily wipe the mud onto the hem of my shirt, not because I was afraid of being dirty, but out of an unconscious reflex to look somewhat presentable before a man who represented an entire painful past behind him. We stepped forward to greet him, awkward and stiff. A simple hello felt incredibly heavy. It didn't carry the warmth of hospitality. It was merely the bare minimum of politeness between adults trying to maintain a fragile peace. He stood there with that same imposing demeanor he always has, but his eyes held something I couldn't quite read. And then, not leaving me to guess for long, he got straight to the point. The purpose of this sudden visit, it turned out, still revolved around Maya. Her grandmother isn't fully recovered yet, he said, his voice deep and murky. She wants Maya to come over for a few days. She needs her granddaughter by her side to feel better. Every word he spoke felt like a needle pricking my ears. to visit to make her feel better. Thousands of questions and 1,000 waves of resistance rose up in my mind. Could someone please tell me this is a joke? Because more than anyone else, I and all of you who have followed my mother-daughter journey for so long know the naked truth behind that relationship. Maya's grandmother, the woman he was mentioning with such concern, has never been a gentle grandmother in my daughter's memory. How could I forget those sharp glares, the hostile attitude and the coldness she used to direct at Maya? What crime did an innocent child like Maya commit? She carries their bloodline. Yet in return, she received indifference, even animosity. How many times has she gone to her grandparents' house only to return with sad, drooping eyes? How many times has her innocence crashed against the cold wall of discrimination? And yet now they are using the excuse that Grandma is sick to drag her back. Is it the truth? Or is it just a perfect pretext for some other scheme? Do they really need Maya to heal? Or do they just want to plant more negativity about her mother into her young, impressionable mind? I wanted to scream, no. I wanted to open my arms wide, pull Maya behind my back and declare clearly, my child is not going anywhere, especially not to a place where she isn't truly loved. But my throat felt tight and bitter. Living in Spain as a single mother facing the legal system and custody rights. I understand my weak position all too well. I cannot act on emotion. I cannot give them an excuse to accuse me of obstructing the grandparents' visitation rights. A sense of helplessness seeped into every fiber of my being. I felt like a fish on a chopping block, fully aware of the knife at my neck but unable to thrash about. The tearing conflict between a mother's instinct to protect and the cold constraints of the law made me feel like I was going to explode. Finally, I bowed my head, swallowing my tears and my resentment back inside. Yes, if she wants to see her grandchild. I whispered, my voice cracking as I fought for control. I agreed. A bitter, painful agreement. Brother D stood beside me through it all. He didn't say a single word to Maya's grandfather. I knew he wanted to desperately. Looking at his clenched fist veins popping out on his arm, I knew how hard he was struggling to restrain himself. But he understood that in this position any word from him could make the situation worse for me. His silence in this moment was his best form of protection. He turned to Maya. His eyes softened, filled with love. He crouched down to be at eye level with her, gently fixing the collar of her jacket. Be a good girl, Maya. His voice was warm and deep, completely different from the tension of a moment ago. He patted her small, slightly trembling shoulders. You go visit your grandparents. Ba and Mommy Huyen will be here waiting for you. Ba promises I will come to pick you up soon. Very soon. Brother D's words, Ba promises, were like a life preserver thrown into the middle of a lake of confusion for Maya. She looked at him then, at me, her eyes showing a hint of fear, but also shining with trust. Maya understood that no matter what happens, she always has us as her solid rear guard. Watching Maya's small silhouette trudging along behind her grandfather toward the car, my heart twisted in knots. The car rolled away, taking my entire little world toward a place that I knew held no warmth. The garden behind us remained the freshly tilled soil, still smelling of new earth. But the joy of our afternoon labor had completely evaporated. All that was left was Brother D and me, rooted to the spot in the twilight. The wind began to blow harder, biting cold. I asked myself, how will Maya sleep tonight? Is her grandmother really sick, or will she use harsh words to hurt the child again? And most importantly, will our promise to pick her up soon be easy to keep, Or is this the opening shot of a new battle for custody? Everything is still ahead of us, and I know the coming days will not be peaceful. Thank you everyone for listening to Huyen's Heart. Your support is the biggest motivation for me to keep fighting for Maya's happiness. Please keep watching, because this journey is still very long. The cold black car rolled away, carrying our little girl out of sight around the bend of the dirt road. The sound of the engine faded and then died out, completely returning the space to a terrifying silence. I stood there, my feet feeling as if they were nailed to the cold ground, my eyes fixed on the lingering haze of dust. There were no screams, no desperate clawing to hold her back, but the tears just kept flowing. Hot, salty drops rolled down my cheeks, soaking into my trembling lips. These were tears of utter helplessness. I am a mother, yet I couldn't keep my child with me during these holidays of reunion. It felt like my chest was hollowed out, as if someone had reached in and ripped out my heart, leaving behind a deep, dark abyss where the wind howled through. On the other side of the city, at the grandparents' house, the scenario I feared most was actually unfolding, but in a way more cruel than I could have imagined. The mansion doors opened, but what welcomed Maya was not a warm embrace or a gentle smile from a grandmother longing for her grandchild. Grandma lay there on an expensive sofa, her face still showing signs of illness. But the look she gave Maya was still as cold and sharp as a knife. My little girl stepped forward timidly, whispering a greeting. But the response to that obedience was a silence that made one's skin crawl. She didn't hug the child, didn't pat her head, didn't even bother to sit up to get a better look. Instead, she threw out a dry, callous remark aimed at the grandfather, but intended for Maya to hear. "Why did you bring her here? She's just going to leave eventually, exactly like her mother did. That kind of person never cares about or appreciates this family. Blood or not, she's ungrateful." Every word she spoke felt like a slash against Maya's tender soul. She is just a child. What crime did she commit in these adult feuds? Why plant such poisonous thoughts about betrayal and abandonment in her head? But my Maya, she is so mature, it breaks my heart. Even though her eyes were red with self-pity, she didn't burst into tears or run away. Taught carefully by Brother D and me, Maya kept the manners of a good child. Seeing her grandmother cough, she quietly went to pour a glass of warm water, holding it with both hands and placing it gently on the table beside her. She pulled up the blanket that had slipped down to her grandmother's feet, a gesture as caring and gentle as the way she takes care of me whenever I'm sick. She did all of that not to curry favor, but because of her natural instinct for kindness. But deep within those clear eyes, I knew her soul was closing itself off. The grandfather sat nearby, seeming to feel a twinge of guilt at his wife's attitude. He tried to make conversation, tried to offer Maya some toys or candy to ease the suffocating atmosphere. He asked her about school, about Christmas, but Maya didn't seem to hear anymore. She just nodded or shook her head politely. Her gaze remained fixed on the window where the yellow streetlights were glowing. She missed home. She missed the little garden smelling of fresh soil. She missed the warmth from the rough hands of Ba Day. Here, amidst the velvet and riches, she felt lonelier than ever. She wanted to go home, but she knew she couldn't. Back at our little house, night had fallen completely. The night mist was descending, biting cold. I was still sitting on the porch step, hugging my knees, burying my face in my hands and sobbing. The restraint I had held before Maya's grandfather had finally shattered. I cried out of love for my child, out of anger at my own weakness, and out of the bitterness of being so isolated in a foreign land. Brother Day was still standing there, silent as a cypress tree shielding me from the wind. He watched me tremble with every sob, and I could feel a shift in the air around him. He was no longer the gentle, resigned Brother D who only knew how to bow his head and garden. He stared into the void where the car had disappeared. His brow furrowed, his eyes blazing with a fierce determination that I hadn't seen in a long time. He clenched his fists so tight his knuckles cracked. This man's patience had a limit. And seeing the woman he loves collapse, seeing the girl he treats as his own flesh and blood being taken into the lion's den, that had touched his final limit. Brother D suddenly turned and walked quickly toward me. He didn't sit down to comfort me with empty words. He stood towering over me, his shadow stretching out to cover the dim porch light. He bent down, his voice deep and murky, but carrying a terrifying weight ringing out like steel in the silent night. "Huyen, stand up. You don't need to cry anymore." I looked up stunned, seeing him through my blurred tears. "I won't let this slide." He said every word as solid as a nail driven into wood. "They have their rights, but we have our ways. I'm going to go get our daughter back. Right now." What is Brother D planning to do? A man of few words, unfamiliar with the laws of this land. What can he possibly do to confront the power of my ex-husband's family? Or is he planning something reckless because he loves that child too much? A cold gust of wind rushed past, making me shiver, but the fire in Brother D's eyes seemed to be burning through the dark night. The real battle is only just beginning. The motorbike engine roared to life, tearing through the quiet silence of the Spanish suburbs. I was startled and instinctively wanted to rush out and grab his arm to stop him. My mind was clouded with fear. Fear of my ex-husband's family's power. Fear that Brother D would get into trouble with them. And fear that this conflict would slam the door on future visitation forever. "Brother D, don't please calm down," I shouted into the void. But he didn't turn back. His silhouette stretched long under the yellow streetlights, solitary but incredibly determined. The old motorbike shot forward like an arrow cutting through the wind, carrying the suppressed fury of a father seeking justice for his little girl. I stood rooted to the spot, watching the red taillight fade around the bend, my insides burning with anxiety. I knew this was going to be a long, fateful night. At Maya's grandfather's mansion, the heavy iron gate stood as a barrier between the cold, upper-class world inside and the freedom outside. Brother D didn't hesitate. He pressed the doorbell repeatedly. The sound was urgent and rapid, matching the rhythm of his own heartbeat. When the maid cracked the door open with a look of surprise, Brother D strode straight past her into the living room where the grandfather was still sitting with an air of superiority. His appearance, a simple Asian man, his clothes still dusted with the soil from the garden, created a stark contrast amidst the luxurious, glittering living room. But strangely, he didn't look out of place or intimidated. On the contrary, the aura radiating from him made the whole room seem to shrink. Maya's grandfather furrowed his brow, dropping his newspaper, his voice dripping with annoyance. "What is this nonsense? Who gave you permission to barge in here at this hour?" Brother D stood tall in the middle of the room, looking straight at the powerful man opposite him without flinching. He took a deep breath, channeling all his love and courage into every word. "I am here to take my daughter home." Iwanhei. The grandfather let out a scoff, a smile full of mockery. "Your daughter. Have you forgotten your place? She bears this family's last name. She has this family's blood running through her veins. You are just the man who came later." That sentence could have hurt anyone but to Brother D. In that moment, it meant nothing. True, I didn't give birth to her, Dee's voice rang out deep and steely, every word clear as a hammer striking rock. But I love Maya as my own flesh and blood. I feed her every meal, I watch over her sleep. I teach her right from wrong. Fatherhood isn't just found in blood, sir, it is found in the heart. And my heart tells me I cannot let her live in fear, enduring coldness under this roof for one more second. The grandfather froze for a moment. Perhaps he never expected this gentle, quiet man to be capable of such sharp, piercing words. But the ego of a superior man wouldn't let him back down easily. Ridiculous, he shouted. My wife is sick. She needs the girl here to cheer her up for a few days. That is the duty of a grandchild. You have no right to interfere. Maya is a child, not a painkiller for adults. Brother De countered immediately, his voice beginning to tremble with rage. Look at her. Is she happy? Or is she cowering in that corner? A child needs genuine love, needs warmth. Not to be a tool for you people to relieve your sadness or selfish loneliness. This place is too cold for her soul. Hit by the undeniable truth, Maya's grandfather turned purple with anger. He stood up abruptly, pointing at the door. Enough, get out of my house immediately. Don't make me call security to drag you out. The girl stays here, and that is final. The tension in the room was like a guitar string about to snap. I am certain that if it were me, I would have burst into tears and given up. But Brother D did not. He didn't back down. He took a step forward, pulling his phone from his pocket, his eyes sharper and more dangerous than ever. This was the final blow. Fine. If you want to use the law, let's talk law. He said, his voice ice cold. I will call the police right now. I will report that you are holding a person against their will. Maya has a legal guardian, her mother Huyen, and we have not signed any paperwork consenting for her to stay here overnight. In this country, keeping a child without the guardian's consent is kidnapping. Do you want the police to come here and make a scene in front of all your neighbors? The room fell into a dead silence. Maya's grandfather glared at Brother D. He understood perfectly well how strict Spanish laws are regarding child rights. And above all, wealthy people in this area fear scandal. They fear the sound of police sirens wailing at their gates. He looked at the determined, all-or-nothing look on Brother D's face and realized, this man isn't bluffing. He is ready to do anything for that child. The arrogance on his face slowly melted away, replaced by humiliating defeat. He waved his hand, turning his face away in disgust. Fine, take her. Don't let me see your face here again. That was all he needed. Brother De spun around, heading toward the corner where Maya was sitting, curled up on the chair. Maya, let's go home, baby. Hearing that familiar call, Maya's sad eyes suddenly lit up like stars in the night. She jumped off the chair, not even pausing to say goodbye to anyone, and flew toward Brother De. Ba De, her clear, high-pitched voice rang out, shattering the gloomy atmosphere. Brother De dropped to his knees, opening his arms wide to catch the small, trembling body. He hugged her tight, patting her back reassuringly. Ba is here. I promised I would come for you. We're going home. Father and daughter walked hand in hand out of that massive mansion door without looking back once. On the ride back, Maya sat in front of him on the motorbike, wrapped entirely in Brother D's oversized jacket. The night wind was still cold, but I am certain that her heart was warmer than it had ever been. She buried her head in his chest, trusting him absolutely. When the familiar motorbike headlight shone on our gate, I broke down and ran out. Seeing Maya safe in Brother D's arms, I understood one thing. Our family, though not rich in money, has a man who is richer in love and bravery than anyone else in the world. Tonight, the storm has truly stopped at our door. The clock had already ticked over into a new day. The night mist in the Spanish suburbs was growing thicker by the minute, covering everything in a cold, blurry haze. But I didn't feel the cold. Or rather, the scorching heat of anxiety inside me had completely overpowered the chill of the weather. I stood leaning against the stone gate pillar, my eyes glued to the dark road ahead. Every second that passed felt like an entire century. Did Brother D manage to get her? Is that family making things difficult for him? 1,000 terrible scenarios played through my mind, like a movie on fast forward. But then piercing through that silent darkness, a familiar beam of light cut through the night, shining straight toward our gate. The sound of that old motorbike engine grew louder and closer. In that moment, it was the most beautiful sound I had ever heard in my life. It was Brother D, and in front of him sat a small shadow curled up and carefully bundled inside his oversized jacket. The bike had barely come to a halt. The brakes hadn't even fully engaged when I rushed forward. Maya jumped off the bike, and in that split second, she didn't walk. She ran. She launched herself straight into my arms. "Mommy!" Her call shattered the silence of the night. I hugged her tight, squeezing her so hard I could feel her little heart racing through her thick layers of clothes. My tears spilled out again, but this time they weren't the bitter tears of helplessness. They were tears of ultimate relief. She was back. She was safe. Brother D kicked down the kickstand and stepped over to us. He didn't say a word. He just silently wrapped his arms around both Maya and me. 3 people, 3 different fates, now tightly woven into a single unit, right there under the yellow street lamp. Amidst the freezing night of a foreign land, Brother D's arms felt like a sturdy fortress wall, blocking out all the storms, the coldness, and the schemes of the world outside. I loosened my grip just a little, kneeling down on the ground to look straight into my daughter's eyes. Maya's eyes still held traces of sadness, but they shone with absolute trust. I reached out to wipe a smudge of a tear from her cheek, took a deep breath, and prepared to say the words I should have been strong enough to decide on long ago. Koa. Maya listened to me. My voice trembled but was firm. "Mommy is sorry. I am so sorry I let you endure that coldness. I promise you, from now on, I will never, ever let you go back to that house alone again." I looked deep into her eyes, not shying away from the painful truth. "Grandma, she doesn't have the love for you that we hoped for. She resents your presence, and I cannot let your soul be hurt one more time. You don't need to try to please people who don't cherish you. You have me, and especially you have Bade. We are your real family." Maya looked at me, then turned to look at Brother D. She nodded her head vigorously, as if a weight of 1,000 pounds had been lifted off her shoulders. "I don't want to go back there anymore, Mommy. I just want to be at our home." That innocent sentence was the final period ending my chapter of weak compromises. Tonight, I didn't just bring my child home. I rediscovered the fiercest protective instinct of a mother. There will be no more negotiations if it means hurting my child. The night wind rustled through the trees, but inside our little home tonight, the warm fire of love has been rekindled, burning brighter than ever before. Thank you, my amazing audience, for holding your breath and following Huyen's emotional journey today. Thank you for always being there, leaving encouraging comments and fueling Brother D and me on this thorny path. If you love Brother D's sincerity, if you care for little Maya, and if you want to walk with us through this life in Spain, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and especially please consider becoming a member of the channel. Your membership supports Huyen's family with living expenses and helps us pursue the legal battles to protect Maya's rights. Your support is the strongest shield for this little family. Goodbye for now, and I will see you all in a much more peaceful video. Good night, everyone.
Xin chào mọi người quay trở lại với kênh của Huyền và Đệ. Sau những gì Huyền và gia đình đã trải qua, những gì mà con bé Maya trải qua với những đối xử cực kỳ tệ bạc mà ông nội và bà nội của Maya đối xử với con bé, thì Huyền cảm thấy rất là buồn vì không làm được gì để bảo vệ con bé. Thì lần này sắp đến dịp Noel, mọi người ai cũng náo nức không khí chuẩn bị Noel, thì Huyền đã thu hoạch bưởi để cùng nhau đi chợ bán lấy tiền. Tuy nhiên anh Đệ thì không đi làm được vì anh Đệ bận ở nhà để làm lại chiếc vườn đang chuẩn bị thu hoạch. Anh Đệ thì đã chuẩn bị cho Maya cùng Huyền một Giáng sinh thật là đáng nhớ và kỷ niệm. Anh ấy tin rằng điều này sẽ làm Maya vui hơn và cầu mong một năm mới đến sẽ hạnh phúc hơn đối với họ, và họ có một cuộc sống êm đềm hơn. Xin mời quý vị theo dõi.